Hello, everybody. Welcome back to We Are Here Now. We are a collaborative community talk show focused on topics to start conversations and inspire insights. This show is focused on exploring how students are navigating the world as it is today and looking at it all through the lens of the Michael teachings. I am your resident host and channel for the Michael entity. For more information on anything or anyone in this video, see the descriptions and see the descriptions for links in the video after we post it. You may have noticed the intro is a little different from the previous intros. That's because this episode marks our first significant overhaul to the format of the show. Based on feedback from viewers, one of the best things about this show is the interaction with the panelists and conversations that spring up from the topics. So today, you're going to have more of that. My original vision for this series was to be focused on education about current events. We will still do our best to discuss current events, but we will no longer have the In the News segment. The amount of time and energy and focus required to pull that off for a 10-minute segment was just not working. The show will also have significantly less scripting, so that's nice. Let's see how this goes. Now I'm going to introduce everybody. Here comes the panel. First, let's bring on Bobby.
Hey everyone, I'm Bobby. I'm a servercast artisan from C2E2, and my pronouns are he, him, and his.
Next up is Ro.
Hello, friends. My name is Ro. I'm an artisan cast priest from Category 2 Entity 7.
Next up, Caitlin.
Hello, my name is Kate. I am a priest cast sage from Cadre 2, Entity 2, and my pronouns are she, they.
1, 2's in the house. Oh, it's me. Next up, Connor.
All right. Hello, TLE friends. I'm Connor. I am a scholar cast sage from Cadre 1, Entity 2. And my pronouns are he, him, for now.
That's a very good thing to point out. My pronouns are he, him, and I am a servercast sage from Cadre 1 Entity 2. Word! Okay. Trying to make up for all the 2-2 hype that was happening.
Whatever.
Hey.
So let's start our first new segment. So our new segment to take the place of In the News is, because this show is called We Are Here Now, we're going to always start off the episode with, where are we now? So we can all check in with each other. To help bring more conversation, intimacy, interaction, and presence, we're experimenting with this new segment, and we're calling it Where Are We Now? This is a segment that lets the panelists share how their month has been going and bring up any interesting experiences to share, and checking in with viewers about how their month has gone. So here we go. Let's start in. Anybody want to start off with telling how their lovely June has gone?
Yeah, I mean, I had to think to remember.
Yeah.
In June.
Yeah.
Was time really weird in June for you all?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's going by quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess it could be said that that's the whole year, but June was particularly weird as far as time for me.
I felt like some weeks were really long, and some weeks we're just like done. And now we're here. No.
I felt like for me the past several weeks work related were really long and arduous and stressful, and that those chunks of time felt very slow, to the point that when I was done with work for the day and I was just looking for that time to debrief and depressurize, that window of time felt very limited and small. And so I felt like for the past several weeks I've just been living to work.
Yeah.
You know, I'd finish work, I'd just go to bed, get up in the morning and get back into the grind again. Like time was working against me rather than working for me. And so I was coupling that with, and I know we'll talk about this from an energy report perspective in a second, but I was coupling that with, to compensate with the stress from work, I've slowly felt more inclined to reintegrate myself into society, and I've wanted to do things that were fun and enjoyable in the past that I haven't been able to do for the past year and a half. And it's also kind of, I feel a little trepidation thinking that way too, because I've not been allowed to think that way for the past year and a half. Like, oh yeah, I'll go out and do this, or I'll go out and hang out in society and do that. So I'm sort of tiptoeing my way back into that way of thinking. Sort of as a result of dealing with all of the stress that's going on in my work life. But it's a little nerve-wracking because I'm not comfortable having that mindset 100% of the time just yet.
Yeah, I just recently went to a bar with alcohol and humans, and it had been a very long time, but it felt normal, right, to get back to something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, a very productive June.
Were you apprehensive at first?
No, I already work in public, and I've been doing that since last July. So going inside was a bit new with other humans, but I'm used to being outside.
Yeah.
With bigger crowds.
Yeah, I'm good outside.
Weird June.
Yeah, I feel a bit exhausted from mid-May to the first 2 weeks of June. Like that exhaustion, I just could put my finger on it, but it felt like this cloud, making my way through a cloud, this dense thing surrounding me. And it wasn't like painful or like bad, but it still felt like something there in the air, in the environment, of people. Also the political crisis here in Peru, everything, getting intermingled. But I got into more intuitive art. I love doing intuitive art to rest, to just have fun with myself and meditate. So that really helped me. I think this week it has started off way better than the others. So I feel like I'm going back to my healing work and creativity the way I really like it. So I'm feeling more like myself. So, I love it.
Isn't it weird how our experiences can be segmented into months? Like I don't understand how that works, but you can really identify an energy for a month that seems to have a theme. This is how the energy reports work.
Yes.
Right.
But my month was focused on, other than not focused, because that's challenge in life, was getting caught up in creativity. I was so enamored by the virtual world, virtual reality, that I started building worlds in it and working on the whole TLE expanding into virtual reality thing. And that's really been satisfying and grounding for me. I really enjoy that a lot. And I love that there are people who are, I tried to pick a space where we call them 2D'ers. The 2D people can hang out with us 3D people as we all go to the fourth dimension. But I love that there are a lot of people that are able to access and I'm able to show them around and see what I'm doing. And that's been fun to hang out with people I haven't been with in forever. So that's nice.
That's so cool.
I'm so jealous. I think I'm going to get that Oculus Quest next thing I can do. So it's so fun.
Oh, yes. You will love it.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I binged all of Battlestar Galactica again.
Oh.
Right? Again,
Oh
it's
my
not the
gosh.
original. I mean the
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
2004,
wow.
Uh-huh.
the real show.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
That's my
The
favorite
real-
series of
yeah,
all
it's
time.
it gets a little churchy, but I still love it. I
Yeah.
still love it.
It's really good.
I found out it was written by a Mormon, apparently.
That
Oh,
totally
that makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does.
13th tribe, all of that.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was my June. A lot
Aw.
of Battlestar Galactica.
The ending to that show just gets me every time.
It's sad. No one winds up together.
No.
I guess
There's-
Saul and Ellen, I guess, but nobody else.
Everyone's alone. They're in this new world that they don't know, they don't understand, and they have to navigate it alone.
So we want to bring this question to everybody who's viewing too. Like, where are you now? I know you can't explain it as openly as we can because we're talking, but do you have any quick notes, whether you had a good June or a bad June or a no June?
Oh, we have one. Here's Luciana. Everything is fine with me. I think I'm making new friends. My personal life is always different from what I say in the energy reports. That's why I prefer private sessions.
I know. It's so funny. She does. Like, whatever's going on in the energy report,
Yeah.
she's like, well, I'm just the opposite. That's good, though. That's fine. That's good. What I appreciate is that you don't try to fit it. Like, you don't try to make it work for you. Like, if the energy report doesn't fit, then the fact that you're owning what's happening to you is really good.
Lawrence, I'm glad you consider us your people for liking Battlestar. And Diane says June was kind of anxious and overwhelming.
Wait, Diane. So is that like March and April and May too? It seems to be my theme. Like, it's like, June was anxious and overwhelming. Wait, didn't I say that last month too?
Oh, the Mormons are my people too.
Oh, that's right.
And then Diane says, yeah, haha, pretty much.
Oh. We'll get more comfortable with our Where Are We Now segment. I know it's not the news. It was like this fast-paced news from all the other episodes, and now we're like, yeah, June happened.
Yeah,
Here's
June.
Moonfeather. Moonfeather's getting settled into her new home environment, having a new kitten, and exploring the virtual reality world. Been loads of new stuff, but it feels great.
Oh my God, that's right. Moon gets her Oculus tomorrow.
She'll graduate from a 2D to a 3D.
She's going to go from 2D to 3D. We have a program in place for people to accelerate.
You unlock a whole new realm of social acceptance when you go to 3D.
Mm-hmm. She's been there in 2D, and it's been a hoot because she can't control her head very well.
Oh, it's here.
Oh, it's here. Oh,
her package arrived.
Moonfeather, hit me up later. I'll help you. But it's so funny because when you're in 2D, you have to use your keyboard and mouse to move around, and it can get a little bit wonky. And so she's like this the whole time in VR. We have to talk to her while she's looking up at the ceiling, and it's hilarious. All right, well, let's wrap up and bring on our student spotlight now. Our student spotlight this month is a representative from the rare unicorn group of evolving mid-40s white dudes. Keyword that makes him rare, evolving. He found the Michael teachings roughly around 1998. He received a master's in econ in 2007 and has been working with data and computers ever since. He loves sci-fi, fantasy, video games, and family. Please welcome Christian. Hey there, Christian. Hey there, little unicorn. How you doing?
Doing all right. Doing all right.
Well, go ahead and tell everybody your role, casting, cadre, entity.
My role is warrior, casting is scholar, entity is, or cadre entity is 2-1.
Oh,
and just he, him is fine.
and what? Oh, he, him. Okay.
Yeah, he, him
Yeah.
is fine.
It's acceptable.
Yeah.
So, like we ask everybody who comes on, do you remember how you first came across the Michael teachings? I know you said you came across it in 1998, but how did that happen for you?
In a really roundabout way, because I was working at the time at a convenience store as an assistant manager. And so I was running up to the bank every day to do the daily deposit, get cash, all those things that you do when you're managing a retail business. And of course, over the time period, I got to know one of the tellers there, whose name was Amber. And we started talking about we started talking about, I think, like ghosts or something one day. And then that led into talking about spiritual stuff. And then she was like, well, there is this thing called the Michael teachings, but I don't really want to talk about it at work because just, a bank in Lawrence, Kansas, probably not the best place to be talking about something like that. So we went out to lunch one day and we talked about it a little bit more. And then there was a bookstore in town that the chain no longer exists. It's called Hastings. They had books and music and VHS rentals. Remember those?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. And so one day I was just wandering through the bookshelves and there was a messages from Michael copy sitting on it was up in the corner on a top shelf somewhere and was like 30% off of list price. And it literally looked like it had been printed in the 1970s and then got stuck in a box for decades, and they just happened to find it somewhere and threw a sticker on it and put it up on the shelf. So I was like, okay.
Was it in really good condition then?
Yeah, it was in perfect condition. It's not anymore. I've read the crap out of it, but that was really it. And then it just eventually that led to, I got hooked into the Yahoo groups because that's where everything was at the time. And it was right around that time where like Victoria and you and JP and Jose and everybody were kind of all in this one big group. And then everything fractured. And it was like people went this way. And I mean, honestly, my first introduction to you was like 6 people bad mouthing you about how you run your business and how that you never get anything done on time and blah 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 and all this other stuff. And so it initially put a really negative view on there, but after everything kind of fractured, I just was like, okay, I want more activity, I want more information. And Victoria was kind of walking away from doing the channeling. She was focusing more on her shaman stuff. And her website it still is classic mid-90s website. Not a whole lot going on, but you were doing things. You were building the community, and it was shortly after that I think we went to the Ning site and everything. And so, it was just the fact that there was more of a community there, more of a community here, and that, yeah, you might have to wait for a channeling, but when you get it, it's going to be worth it. Not saying.
No. It's true. It's true.
I mean,
I can't pretend like that's not true.
Yeah. And it's been fun watching the evolution too, as it moved forward into what it's becoming and what is actually being done here, because it doesn't feel like it's being done anywhere else. Yeah.
That's true. I feel like that I created like a framework, and then the community did everything else. It's just been amazing to see that develop and experience that. And I'm so grateful for that, because it's the momentum. There's only so much I can do if nobody's participating. So with everybody participating and contributing, like there will be times I'll go like 2 months maybe without looking at the actual site. And then I'll be like, I'm missing out on everything, because there's so much going on there. So I love all the community that's happening there. That was what I was going to ask you next, is how you found us. But that's a very common description of how people stumbled upon me. You're like, well, I stumbled upon a group of students attacking you. But those were rough days. I was so enthusiastic and a little obnoxious. I've become so much more refined now.
Well, that's who in their 20s wasn't obnoxious. I mean, let's be honest.
So speaking of evolving,
yeah,
we've talked about this before online, or I've seen comments from you about it before, where you're like, you used to really get on my nerves, Troy, and the things you say.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you know what? But I just started listening and learning, and I want to hear more about that process for you, like what that was like tell me about that. Like how did that unfold for you, from being like resistant and annoyed to being like, oh, now you're like a really strong voice. You are very vocal and really eloquent in your expression about issues now. I really love that.
No, thank you. Honestly, that one I had to think about that for a while, because I think there were multiple factors that were going on in the process, but ultimately one of the things that it came down to was, I know I've talked about this before on the site, where I was, listening to a bunch of the atheist YouTubers and like the skeptic community in YouTube and all that stuff back like in 2010, 2012, that sort of area. And whenever you get involved in a group like that, you start thinking like the group, whatever group you're involved with. You begin, the more you're exposed to it, the more you begin to think like it. And one of the worst things that really ever happened was there sort of became this thing of people who decided, who claimed to be atheists, suddenly it somehow made you a better person than everyone else, which is exactly what Christians would say, or exactly what, any fundamentalist religious person would say. And what really got into it was I started having to engage with the mode, because my mode is a skeptic. And so, I remembered it was an older channeling that Michael had said that the modes actually sort of were brought to essentially tried to bring into a physical form in ancient Greece with schools of philosophy, where you have the Stoics, the Stoics, the skeptics, etc., down the line. But the only ones that we really survived with anything was the Stoics, partly because of Marcus Aurelius. But there was still some stuff with the skeptics' philosophy. And when I looked into it, basically, if you're truly going to be a skeptic, first of all, you're going to be skeptic of everything, including your skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, it could be the skeptics, even in ancient Greece, were very much aware their philosophy could ultimately be self-defeating, because you're skeptical of your own skepticism. And so it's like, if I'm truly calling myself a skeptic with religion or anything else, then why am I not skeptical of the atheism? Why am I not skeptical of why I think this way? And it opened up the possibility of being able to question what I'm thinking, rather than just holding on to this is the way it is. And then as I began to dig more into it, I began to realize that part of that was my depression, which I've talked about numerous times before, was, it was kind of like you had this, it felt like depression and the chief features were working together to be stubborn and arrogant and protect the self from being vulnerable by presenting this atmosphere of I am perfectly logical and you can't question anything I say, and then being incredibly stubborn and that means that I don't have to change anything. And so it took having to, just start questioning everything. And it eventually led me to getting, it led to a lot of things. Like there was a bunch of other stuff going on that we don't need to go into, but ultimately getting into therapy and that helping to identify the depression and the voice of the depression then allowed me to start saying, no, this is me. This is the depression talking. When I have these thoughts, those are not me. That's depression telling me that things are terrible and never going to get better and all of this stuff. The rest of this, that's not what's reality. That's not real. And so it goes hand in hand with working through those mental health issues, which are an ongoing thing. So once you start questioning, though, you have to really start digging to find. It doesn't take long for the truth to recognize itself, to show itself. And even in the econ teaching, it was like I began to understand. You could see in the data, there's the gender gap in pay, right? Well, there's also the race gap in pay. And then when you put the two together, it's like you have white men, then you have black men, then you have white women, then you have black women. And that's how the pay discrepancy kind of breaks out depending on where they're at. Sometimes the white women are paid more than the black men, but it would never be black women above black men or black women above white women. Seeing those things, seeing that data, and then going, wait a minute, there's more here. There's more to question. There's more to understand. And it also was very much getting rid of that arrogance of thinking I knew everything.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Well, would you say that was the first thing that kind of like was that moment of breakthrough, is the economic disparity and pay disparities? Or was there something else that you're like, oh, now that I'm listening, now that I'm paying attention?
When I really think back to it, the point that really made me go, wait a minute here, it was like seeing that put the question in my head. But it was then, I believe there was a discussion we had, and I want to say Carrie was involved with that, and it was about intersectionalism. And really in a very one post, she kind of put it together in a succinct manner that I went, that makes sense. And it just was like, when I started then going back and looking at some of the stuff with econ, looking at what was happening with the atheist community and everything, I'm like, oh, why is the atheist community all white men? That's the problem. I wonder why. And then you start seeing that some of these atheist skeptic people are now paragons of the alt-right. Oh, that's why. It begins to make sense. And then it's just like, I think also part of my annoyance was also, I'm a warrior, tend to be very grounded, also scholar, tend to be very reserved and everything. And you're very clearly not. You're very much out there and loud and proud and about who you are. And it was great, but that's great. And I love it. It's just at that time of my life, I wasn't there yet. It took time for me to get there. And so, yeah.
Well,
I spent a little bit too much on that one. Sorry.
No. We've gone a little overtime, but I do still want to ask, like, if you had one piece of advice, like for somebody who's dealing with blind spots, privilege, arrogance, stubbornness, any of that, like, do you have any, like, what would you say to be like, start here, just start here to get through that?
Really, it would have to be, you'd have to ask yourself, what am I missing? What am I seeing? It's what is true. Is the way I always approached it was, what is true? What backs this up? Where's the data that backs this up? Because surprise, econ data, surprise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
me going into data, that's not a surprise at all. But that's the way I always approached it. And when you start really looking at the numbers, and you are like, oh, if depression is telling me, oh, your wife is spending all this time with her friends because she's seeing somebody on the side or something, and it's like, no, where's the evidence for that? Or, what is the latest one that they're doing? They revived the alt-right has turned around and tried to revive that basically Black people aren't as intelligent as white people canard that has been around for centuries, which is completely false. And it's like, no, why are those schools so bad and everything? Well, because first of all, we base school funding on property values, and property values in those areas weren't allowed to go up because of redlining that was put in place by President Johnson in order to please Southern Democrats so that he could pass civil rights legislation. I mean, right. It's like when you really start, the truth sometimes is just, when you really start looking at it, it's just, the truth is the truth. It's there. Yeah. You just have to sometimes you just have to take the blinders off and actually pay attention to it and ask, what is true here? No, it's true that all of these things that I've come to understand have been because I started listening to people to understand what is true, not just what is the talking point.
Right. Well, thank you for digging deep. And I'm sorry that we took you on that journey, but I'm really glad to hear more about that, and maybe somebody else could be inspired by that as well. And let's bring back the panel. Do you want to stick around and be a part of our topic talk? All right, awesome. Let's bring back the panel. Sorry, we went over. I was mesmerized. So today we're introducing a new way of doing the topic talk. They're designed to be conversation starters and ignite discussion and thoughts that go beyond the show. For today's topic talk, we're getting more personal and asking the question, how do we do it? How do we function and navigate as old souls in a world that demands of us to play by young soul rules, even as we are slowly shifting into a bit more comfortable mature soul paradigm? What I'm going to do is pose questions to the panel and to the viewers. So as I pose these questions, viewers, make note of what your responses might be, and we will have the Q&A section so we can talk about what your responses are, and we'll throw things in if you have something to say while we're discussing it amongst the panel. But my first question to everybody is, what is just one thing as old souls that keeps your spirits up or helps you to return you to your best self when challenged by world events? Who would like to go first?
Food.
Food? Food for you?
That's a good one.
Yep.
Yeah?
Cooking it, being with friends while cooking it, buying it, even, chocolate, some good food. You're not reading the news. You're not getting angry about reading the news. You're just enjoying some food.
So it's kind of like you're deliberately taking in something that's nutritional and meaningful to your body instead of just being bombarded by the world.
Well, not always nutritional, but yes.
Well, what I mean. Like
Desserts are not always nutritional, but they are tasty.
Nutritional and or pleasurable. Anybody else?
Laughter.
I second that.
Jokes, being able, having those friends or those people that you have those inside jokes with, that everybody knows what you're talking about. and you can just having that connection with people and enjoying each other's company, and sometimes just being able to look at something in the news and cynically say, well, kind of expected that to happen, but then, going on and making a joke about something else and sort of trying to move on with it as best you can.
Yeah. It's not a way of ignoring what's happening. It's just a way of bringing some balance back to our emotional bodies. That's important. Ro, you were about to say something. Oh, let me call on Ro.
Oh, yes. I was thinking of small pleasures, right? The small pleasures of life, those happy moments, the spontaneous things that happen with your friends, the laughter you share, your pets, animals, nature, those really simple things that can really bring you back to the present moment and just make you feel like everything is going to be okay. Because, I think I try to feel curious about the next day. So what's going to come tomorrow? And that brings me back to a state of hope, trust that, I'm going to live for it. I'm going to live for a better world. So I love it.
I have a quote that's going to fit what I'm going to circle back to what you were just describing in a little bit.
Oh, but it Bobby, might be the same quote. Who knows? It might be the same.
I think it is, because I think it was you who put it in the quote section.
Yes.
Go ahead, Bobby.
For me, I was thinking validation. When I need to keep my spirits up based on what's going on in the world around me, sometimes it's easy to feel isolated. And then whether it's through my friends or whether it's through political leaders that I admire or highly respect, validation in knowing, wait, no, they're seeing it the same way I'm seeing it, and talking it out with my friends or, people that I love and respect. No, I'm not alone in thinking this way, or I'm not alone in wanting to push back here. So getting that validation keeps my spirits up.
That's really good too. Especially if your friends are ones who, like Christian was saying, question things and aren't just like in an echo chamber.
Right. I mean, I'm not talking like sheepishly, like, oh, everyone else thinks this way, so I must be right. I don't mean it like that. No.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, support in your perspective and validation. I think the validation part's important because, like Christian was saying, like you have to ask whether it's true or not. And if everybody's seeing the same thing, it's a help. It helps you to validate it. Kate?
Yeah, I agree with everybody. I was just like saying yes to everything. And also sleep came to mind. Like just when you get to lay down, even a nap, and when it's a good nap. And you can just lay down and relax. I guess nap in like more of a meditation sort of way.
Is the doing of nothing.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And being so okay with it.
I have such an aversion to nap. What, Christian?
I was saying allowing yourself to rest. Whether it's a nap or just sitting on the couch staring at the birds.
Star Galactica bin.
Yeah, exactly. Because so much of our society is like you have to keep going, go, all the time. It's like just taking that moment to say, what, I'm just going to sit here and do nothing, or I'm going to take a nap or whatever. Yeah, very good.
Nice. Yeah. I'm sure viewers who are watching can relate to all these so far. My answer I wrote down was remembering the truth of good people doing good things in the world, because I think the fastest way for me to get overwhelmed is to think that everybody sucks and that they're destroying the world, and I am one of only a handful of people who notice and care. So it really helps me to remember and to seek out the people who are actually making a difference, who give a shit, who help other people to get on board with that, and just keeping that perspective, because it's really easy for me to be like, what I'm doing is making no difference at all, And but it's not true. It's just not true. And all of us have to keep doing what we're doing and doing it the best way we can. So that keeps me going. Did we have any answers in the?
Yeah, a lot of them are very
Quite a few.
synonymous with what we've been saying.
All right.
Anna
Let's look at
Dobson says, knowing that there are other old souls in the world, kind of like what you were saying, Troy. Like, and then she was agreeing with me about feeling that validation. Diane was saying talking to close friends, especially TLE people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Epicureanism in the group. People love nature and music and friends and food, vividry, petting my cat. Zara, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, is saying something that stokes my passion mode. Like, I just love getting caught up in something like a good novel or a good show.
Oh, that's so true, Zara. That's mine too.
That's true.
I would add that to mine too.
Tickling that passion mode. Yaroon, spending time among earth and animals, good food with friends, morbid humor.
Yaroon. Oh, we've been having a blast at midnight matinees, midnight movies online.
Kate, you got a sleep buddy with Yaroon here.
Yes, Yaroon.
Rose saying that she likes music because Zara was also talking about music, specifically atmospheric music that takes you to another world or tells a story. Oh, okay, Uma. So
I wish I had edibles. I can't smoke or do anything like that, but I would be happy with edibles. And Amy made some for me a long time ago, some vegan brownies, but they never had any real effect on me. So I would love to try an edible. I need to circle back to Uma. Uma pointed out a mistake in our conversation earlier, Christian, that the skeptic is an attitude, not a mode.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a quick justice to Uma. Thank you, Uma.
Yeah.
But to that,
I didn't even catch it when I was like, yes, continue.
But to that point, Anna was saying, Christian, you took skepticism to a more 360 degrees inclusive view over time. Cool.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, and Diane was saying, thanks, Christian. I enjoyed hearing your perspective.
Aww.
Thank you.
I'm so sick of talking points. Thank you for talking about your personal issues and the life lessons you learned.
That's really great.
So.
Thank you, Bobby, for circling back to those.
Thank you.
The next question, everybody start pondering. What do you think you've discovered about yourself during this pandemic? Besides how long you can go without a shower.
I've got a quick one, which is I realized in the pandemic just how much I was actually ignoring or avoiding like nurturing parts of myself prior to the pandemic. Like during the pandemic, when all I could really focus on was me, especially during those 3 months where I was furloughed from my job. And I just realized, wow, there are a lot of parts of who I am that I've never really allowed to just thrive and flourish, and I had to keep them tapped down and under wraps. And I haven't even succeeded in letting those thrive and flourish. But it just sort of awakened that self-awareness in me that I'm starting to listen to now.
Yeah, well, your love for comics certainly took a burst of flourish. As you can see from behind him, that we had to get rid of the couch to make room for the comic shelves.
I know that's not a complaint.
No, it's love. It's love. It's your office. It's gorgeous. It's fun. Ro, what would your answer be?
Oh, let's see. I think what I discovered about myself is I'm amazing. I love myself and I love what I'm doing. I'm creating like all this healing creative business, and I'm having so much fun with it. And I really trust that even though, there can be trials and difficulties in our lives, you can still find some sparks of joy and hope for the future. And, I found that, friends are so important, having your found family, your soulmates with you, because this is a lifetime adventure, and I think I'm really grateful, and I find that every day can be, filled with real joys and, sadness, and my days are filled with equal amounts of laughter and tears for some reason. I'm totally okay with it. I'm a very emotional person too, so I find that it's so important to let your emotions flow as they come, and that makes you healthy, and to really feel that in the moment, feel it to heal it. That's one of my mantras lately. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Connor, what'd you learn?
I suppose that if I want to be more creative, I need to stimulate my creativity more. I've been writing a fan fiction for more than a decade now, and I want to finish the damn thing before I start writing other books. And I haven't been writing much lately. It hasn't been there. And when I started writing, it was because I was doing so much reading. The writing was literally an outgrowth of excessive reading. I was reading so much and so fascinated by these fictional worlds that I wanted to do more with them. And that's where the writing started. And nowadays I don't read as much. Or at least that's what I thought. And I realized I actually do still read as much. It's just mostly news articles.
Right.
So I am replacing that with fantasy once again. I've started reading the Wheel of Time series, and within 2 months now, I've finished the first 3 books.
Ooh.
And it's been nice. I'm still not writing much yet, but you got to start with the reading, I find, and then you being exposed to how other authors do it gives you ideas of how you can do it better. So yeah, I guess just to nurture creativity like a plant, or some shit like that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And Kate?
This year has, I feel like, okay, the thing that I wrote down in my notes to actually talk about was integrity. That's like the biggest thing that's come out of this year. And that integrity is, I found a quote, and I wanted to share the quote from Michael. This was from an excerpt from a student named Annalise's. It was from her private session on her turning point, but I thought it was really relevant to this integrity in my own life. It is about the capacity to call on your calm in the middle of chaos. It is about your capacity to choose while navigating limitations. And yeah, I just like this. Obviously, this whole year has been so chaotic, and we've grown so much, and it feels like beacons of like, I don't know, truth coming out is that feeling of integrity for me. And I've never experienced that before. I know that I'm young, but as an old soul, I'm like, this feels familiar, and it feels like I'm already old, but in the scheme of life, it's integrity. And then also just discovering new passions. Like I figured out that I love to learn how to cook, which never.
Yeah.
I've always been like a reheat kind of leftovers person. And now I'm like buying garlic, growing rosemary. I'm growing plants.
Oh,
now.
nice.
It's crazy.
That's exciting.
Yeah. And then I have all these creative projects too that have come out of this. I'm focusing on making music. I'm trying to self-publish some poetry books.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a crazy life going on, but yeah,
Keep it going.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, got to keep it moving.
Who's next?
Well, one of the things that, interestingly enough, when 2020 started, my wife and I had started on working on the house, trying to get some long-standing issues fixed and replaced, like, the last of the original carpet in the house out that smelled like old people. And It did. They were 95 when they moved out.
Oh, okay.
But in the process of that, we discovered literal mold growing through one of the walls in my daughter's bedroom.
Oh,
Ooh.
no.
no.
So, everything stopped, and we ended up going on a refi process to get the money to be able to fix the problems on the house. But then they told us we had to fix the problems on the house before they would give us the money.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to do a bunch of crazy stuff to get it done, but we've remodeled my daughter's bedroom. We've ripped out half the basement because of mold. We've gotten rid of like 2.5 dumpsters worth of stuff out of the house. It's been very much about cleaning and reworking, and my wife put it best a few weeks ago. She said basically the project is we're reclaiming the house. Because
purging.
when we moved in, she was working full time, I was working full time, and we had no time. I mean, she would work an afternoon or an evening shift at her retail job. I'm working a day shift at my corporate job. And we had no time together. We had no time to work on any of this stuff. And then when it came to I had 2 days off, well, I had 2 kids under the age of 5 at the time. I can't be downstairs pulling down paneling with 2 young kids. So it's been things that needed a long time in coming, and it's just kind of like, okay, we just need to keep it going. The energy reports have been saying, perseverance. You have to keep putting the energy in. It doesn't matter if it's, I liken it to listening to one of Brandon Sanderson's writing talks, where he talks about you have to be persistent in your writing, and you have to be consistent with it. That doesn't mean you write every single day. If you have 2 hours on a Saturday morning starting at 5 a.m. to write, as long as you are writing those 2 hours at 5 a.m. on Saturday morning every week, you are making consistent effort. So that's kind of the attitude we've had to take. We just can't do it all at once. So we just keep making these little, we can get this done today. Great. Let's get that done today. We can get this done tomorrow. Great. We'll do that tomorrow, and just keep moving.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need to adopt some of that thinking in our apartment.
I was thinking the same thing.
Brandon Sanderson finished the Wheel of Time series, actually.
Yes,
oh, really?
Yeah, the original author croaked the way George R. R. Martin is going to croak, and they brought in another writer to finish the series.
Oh. Well, what I discovered about myself over this pandemic is that I could spiral out of control in my mind and my body and my spirit and plummet into depression and anxiety and not show a single sign of it in any obvious way.
Same.
So that might sound bad, but I am my mind is always active. I was always doing something, or always moving, or always dealing with a survival crisis or something. So I've lived my life always at this level of existence that allowed me to not know that exists inside me. And this pandemic was the first time that I really had to sit with it and see how quickly and easily I could spiral. And learn how to navigate that, and how to ask for help, or how to say I can't now. I can't do what I thought I could do. That kind of stuff. So that's what I learned about myself. I guess I could call it, I learned about my the infrastructure of me that needed more addressing than I knew it needed. And I'm still working on it.
So say we all.
Because I was telling Bobby, I was like, but I'm depressed. I've been dealing. He was like, really? Because I'm just not, I don't show it that way. I don't I'm still outgoing. I'm still personable. I'm still I don't just shut down. And so it's helped. That's also another thing. It's convinced me that it's not a problem. So this was a really good learning experience for me to learn from other people who are more comfortable in owning that about their experience, and learning that I could do the same and not feel consumed by it, but to just own it as a part of my existence.
Well, and that's one of the, I think, the beneficial and exciting things about you exploring this whole new VR realm is sometimes the best way out of those feelings is to channel them into some creativity or something positive, to structure them in a positive way in your life, right? I mean, at least that's how I do it, which kind of leads into the next question. But I think your creative desire is a way of you processing all of that.
Yeah, not as a way of I've never been into escapism. Never. Not even my gaming is like an escapist thing. Like I like being really get into it. So once I learned this about me, I'm like, all right, let's dig in. Let's go into it. But yeah, the creativity helps me to funnel the stuff I don't know what to do with. So it's like harness that, do something with it productive and creative, and that's really helpful. So yeah, moving on to the next. Oh wait, let's hear from everybody else, viewers. What else? Anybody else have comments about that question? What did you discover about yourself?
There's only been a few answers so far. Luciana said,
okay.
I've become more independent thanks to the pandemic.
That's true.
Uma wanted to give Connor some credit. She thinks maybe Connor was being too hard on himself. You have been doing a lot of contributing to TLE, Connor, writing the whole human story through your questions with Michael. So that's a lot of writing.
So true.
And I have not yet even started the next chapter. But it will happen.
So.
Oh, that's it? Oh, okay. Well, let's move on. So, how do you navigate the overwhelming nature of world events while managing your own personal world? Like, I think some of us might have already addressed that in some way, but if you have a different answer for the question posed that way, raise your hand and give us your answer. But how do you navigate the overwhelming nature of world events while managing your own personal world? Like, what's your thing that gets you through?
I'll say. Oh, go ahead, Christian. Go ahead.
Well, for me, it's keeping in mind the difference between the macro and the micro. In that, I remember waking up the day after Trump won and realizing, yes, we're in this reality, and was talking with my wife, and I was just like, what the fuck do we do now? And her response has sort of been the thing that kind of stuck with me for that entire time period, and even now, is we focus on our kids, we focus on each other, and we focus on what we can control. And the events are overwhelming, and it's like, seeing the politics going in the exact direction that many people said it was going to go the minute Biden got elected, and not in the progressive way that I personally would have wanted. It's hardly a surprise, but at the same time, it's like I can still go and talk to my Trump supporting neighbor and talk about what's going on in the neighborhood, make those connections with the people in the community. Even though politically we are on opposite ends of everything, we still are, he needs his grass, he's an older guy and he needs his grass cut. I can go cut his grass. We can still look out for each other. We can still take care of each other. And we're still all in this together, regardless of all of that. So, and that's kind of one of the things that I picked up on with listening to like leftist YouTubers and things has been every one of them says the same thing. Organize in your communities, get into the local area, make the change there that you want to see in the bigger part. And Michael has reflected that so many times. So it's like, it's all around, just got to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Who else? Anybody have have an answer to that?
Snacks, cannabis, a good walk to the park.
Oh,
that's how.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. What?
K-pop.
Oh, I think you said hitting the pub.
Oh yes, cat videos.
Oh, if I feel overwhelmed by the world or by causes that seem insurmountable, I always return to what this is kind of reflecting what Christian said. What I can do in my personal world that I know makes a difference, just because it's being done at all, even if I can't see that difference like immediately. Just continuing doing what you know contributes to the overall picture in my personal life helps me get through when I feel like I'm not making much difference or that the world is overwhelming. Did anybody else have something they wanted to say?
Just for me, it's about creating. First of all, I acknowledge that I'm not the greatest at balancing the two, balancing world events and personal world, like the macro and the micro that Christian was talking about. But the one thing I do is when I feel overwhelmed by world events, I allow myself to feel overwhelmed by the world events.
Oh, okay.
I don't play blind to it. I don't stop reading. Like I would rather harness that information than just say, oh, this is too much. I'm going to pretend like it's not there and just go about my micro life, right? For me, it's more comforting to deal with the overwhelming nature of it by just allowing it to just imbue me. And then, unlike Troy, because Troy is so great at just something hits him, he processes it, and he knows exactly how he wants to express that back out.
Frequency.
Yeah. For me, I need to sit with it longer, and it takes me a while to understand what this means to me on a personal level. But usually, my best way of dealing with either the macro or the micro is through creation, whether that's through music or some other form of creation. That's just my best way of processing it all and expressing it through my own unique lens.
All right. Any viewer responses?
Yeah. There's some food. Ben and Jerry, very helpful.
And now they make vegan ice cream too now, so we're on board.
Luciana's all about fantasy. She says, I watch fantasy and the less reality, the better. Yes, I do escape reality sometimes.
That's all right, Luciana. High five.
Shavari says, cat videos mostly, but also looking out for good news in the media.
Yeah.
We're bombarded with so much bad stuff that learning about something kind and beautiful can be heartening.
And it's there too.
It is.
Well, she's been hyper fixated on dog videos as of late.
Oh.
Uma and Maureen
She should
have
go back to cat videos.
Uma and Maureen have their girl bromance.
Oh, okay.
talking to Maureen, or I was going to say the same thing, Uma. So confiding in each other obviously is a big deal for them.
Momance.
Maureen was also saying, Canada will be having another federal election soon. Just before this session, I got a call to volunteer for Chrystia Freeland's re-election. I'll be participating, making phone calls. So I think, like you were saying, Troy, you try to go out and be that change that you want to see.
Yeah, like you just got to keep participating.
Yeah, Chrystia Freeland is my writings member of Parliament. She's the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada.
All right, let me check. Oh, shit, we're way over time. Holy moly. Well, I wanted to there's more here to cover, but, well, we're in the viewer. No, we're way past the viewer Q&A part, too. We're in overtime now. I can see Amanda, like, going, like, what the hell? No, we're all in flow, right, Amanda?
Yeah, it's fine.
You can see Amanda in the green room going, like, All right, well, then let's continue real quick. Well, at least with a couple more of these. I wanted to introduce this next question with a quote that probably Ro knows very well. Kindness is a door to curiosity, and curiosity is a fuel for life. So what goodness, kindness, or difference do you try to bring to the world to make it a better place as an old soul? What goodness, kindness. Oh, look at all the old souls like, none. Those bitches are on their own. They made a mess. They clean it up. That's the way that's old folks deal with it.
Too true. Just kidding.
I know there is that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just want to kind of be like,
Well, it's hard.
you break it, you buy it.
Right, exactly. It's hard. I'll contribute to this in a positive way.
Okay.
And with goodness, kindness, difference, it just feels like to the world where there was a Michael quote that I read earlier. I didn't write it down, but it was something with like the old souls are like the teachers to the young souls or something. And it's within that there's conflict. And, you know, I think approaching things with patience and kindness can generally be like really surprising for people who don't experience that regularly. And that I work at a medical office, so I talk to people on the phone all the time. And I will regularly get people who are like, "You're so pleasant to talk to." And I'm like, well, I'm just vibing with you. Like, I want to make sure you're having a good day, even if it's just for 2 minutes that you're getting this appointment. That's just one little thing, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like that.
I would like to respond with another quote that I found that is beautiful because it's very in tune with what you're saying. It is the greatest contribution older souls have for the planet at this time is to hold consciousness or vividry. And right where you are, with as much generated compassion, trust, and acceptance as possible. This has the potential to incorporate a potential matrix of safety for all fragments who prefer to choose other than the more violent or tragic paths. We do not suggest this activity as a means to protect from or fight against, or as a means to save yourself and others from some vague threat, but more as an opportunity of choice to simply float to the top of the turbulence.
Oh,
So,
Wow.
I think that is very, very beautiful. Like holding consciousness, and to me, is basically being myself in my positive poles and contributing when I can, and also honoring that I also need time for myself to rest, to replenish, But yeah, it is there. It's being present, basically. Being there for people, for yourself, just showing up every day the way you can.
For me, the goodness or kindness is trying to demonstrate empathy, and just realizing that even if I may not understand or share in someone's lived experience, I want to do my best to at least acknowledge what their plight is, or what their suffering is, or what their journey thus far has been. And for me, it seems so clear that our way out of everything, our way out of all situations in this world, is to embrace empathy. And it's strange to me when others resist it on so many levels. And so I found a quote about empathy, and it ties it to sensitivity and wounding. And maybe it's because it connects to wounding that some people don't go there. But the quote from Michael is, "Empathy is vital for evolution of consciousness. Without it, you do not evolve. It is impossible not to evolve one's empathy, but one can certainly stall or halt it for a while. Before one begins to evolve in one's empathy, one tends to increase one's sensitivity. Sensitivity tends to come from experience, and a great deal of experience that fuels sensitivity is wounding. This is one of the reasons even an older soul will draw the line and halt or stall in one's increasing capacity for empathy. This is because empathy begins to equate sensitivity, which equates wounding."
Yes, that's really...
Yeah.
So you avoid it because you don't want to... Some people might be avoiding empathizing with others because it brings up their own wounds. It brings up what their common ground is in that hurting. That's interesting. What did I say? I said probably listening is the best thing I've determined makes a difference in the world to others, and makes the world a better place. I learned to listen. Because I have my own opinions and feelings and experiences and defenses and competing ideals. But when someone's telling me about their experience and their world and their ideals, I've learned to just listen. Like, that's such a no-brainer, but it's so easy not to do. Like, even having a conversation where you're like getting along with them and you you respond with the you respond to the person telling their experience by sharing your own. Like even that's not really listening. Like you're just using it as a way to prompt your stories. So I've learned to just listen, like take it in. There's a very aggressive, I'm going to say aggressive, but it's really not aggressive. It's not fair to say that. But there's a person who I follow who speaks about veganism, and her approach to it is like complete no bullshit, no nonsense. And she calls out a lot of white people and their ridiculousness. And I found, even though I'm very comfortable with all that, I still found myself wanting to chime in and like offer an opinion. And I was like, nope, just listen. Like, listen. And I've learned so much. And the interesting thing is I found a quote relative to listening. And this isn't a quote from Michael. This is just me. I wrote something about in a channeling, a channeling course. And it's based on what Michael said, but it's said the key to balancing yourself if you have a lack of inspiration is to practice listening. If you can practice listening to yourself, to others, to the messages of life, you can help to bring balance into that inspirational column with your inspirational parts of yourself. So anyone who's lacking inspiration is usually lacking the capacity to listen.
And it sounds like a couple of our viewers agree with you, Troy.
Tell me more.
Zara is saying, I'll try to listen and sympathize, although I question just how much am I supposed to help and give advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just got to learn from their mistakes.
Oh, yeah, and it's individual to individual. Like sometimes someone does not really need your advice. They just need you to listen. And then some people really do need it.
Yeah.
So I just usually ask. Like that's the simplest way. Do you want to know what I think about that? And that usually clears things up.
Anna says, I try to offer an ear and listen, or encourage someone's curiosity. It keeps my rage at the state of the world versus there are some decent people out there ratio balanced. It's a fine line most days. And then she also says, encouraging someone or my own curiosity brings me closest to seeing and acknowledging innocence in myself and others. And then Maureen says, whoever I'm with, personal, doing errands or whatever, I listen and really see others. I add to what I can to show this so the others know they are seen and heard.
Nice.
And then Karen, she's like, oh shit, was I supposed to do something other than just watch?
No, you're not supposed to do anything you don't want to do. Sit back and relax. Enjoy our ASMR session.
Sharvari says, I find shared silence can be powerful too.
Yes. Yeah, just sitting together. That happens in VR when someone's mic's not working. Get it, Sharvari? Because Sharvari can get her mic. We couldn't hear each other.
Her mic was not working.
Yeah, it wasn't working. Well, we've gone way over, so let's wrap this up. And I don't know whether to apologize or to just be thankful, but this was a new format. We're all new to it. We got thrown into it really at the last minute. So thank you to all of you and how you handled this and your contributions to this and your perspectives. And also I apologize for the chaos of it all and the lack of structure, but that's kind of what we're going to have to get used to. So it's a good first start to that. Yeah. Right. Let's just do that. From the viewers, just asking the viewers, how did you find this painful to sit through, or were you also feeling engaged? I've got the viewers are make or break the episodes.
It'll take a few seconds for them to share any feedback.
I feel the chat was very lively and just continuously popping up. Oh, both.
Who's playing music? That sounds pretty. I know.
Oh, whoops. That was me.
I like that. It was nice.
I usually mute myself. There's a piano right underneath the camera.
I liked it.
All right.
Just happy to hang out with y'all.
So some feedback is coming in. Lawrence is just happy to hang out with y'all.
Oh,
Diane said, no, this was great.
oh.
Aw.
And I was engaged. I enjoyed listening to Christian and everyone. It's good. I'm in flow. And Sharvari says, this is my first time and I was late, but I had a lot of fun.
Aw. Yeah, everybody who was participating has got thrown in with this list of questions. And like, guess what? No script. Just yesterday. So thanks for rolling with it, everybody. You were awesome.
Yeah, Karen, we were the ones who had to do homework, not you.
And thank you, Amanda and Brian, for rolling with it as well. And I'll try to stick to timing better next time. But I know. Would you like to come on and say bye to everybody? Yay!
Hello, everybody. I'm feeling my sageness right now. So, like, I'm away in the private chat where it's just us backstage, and I'm just replying and typing a book.
I will love to quote Amanda here because she's messaging us in the private chat, and you have some really great gems here. So maybe you want to read it because it's so good.
Okay.
Okay. Troy, you good with that?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. So I get when we were talking about like what we've learned and everything. I gotta scroll up to find it. So truly feeling like you're on the same page with somebody, like that energy that you feel like when you're like really vibing and in flow with somebody. Like, and Ro mentioned that she said essence recognition is such a high too, and I was like, well, it's almost the same thing if you think about it. That connection, that kind of union with essence, with when you feel that connection with somebody else. That's like a hallmark of essence recognition, I feel like. But you're just recognizing it in somebody else at a level higher than just you.
Nice. And Brian, would you like to come on and say hi to everybody before we wrap up? Oh, you're muted. Put you on the spot. Just wanted the people who make it happen behind the scenes to come forward and say hi because, why not? Everybody, we'll be back next month and hopefully with a tighter show. But so we'll discuss what happened in July. We got a whole month to get through and see if we can have anything good to say about it on the other side. Everybody have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.